Welcome to Washington, D.C., where it's the third and final day of the Holiday Hoops Fest. And we wrap things up with the showcase. Later on, it's Richmond and Radford, but right now, St. Francis takes on William and Mary. Howdy, Hoops fans. Jeremy Hooper here with Craig Escherick. And Craig, two teams, styles may not be that dissimilar, but the makeup of the teams definitely are.
Well, both of these teams are going to challenge for their conference play championship. William and Mary from the CAA, their two best players are their two big guys. St. Francis' best players are their two starting guards, so it's a little bit of contrast in styles, but both these teams like to use the perimeter. St. Francis to drive and post up, and William and Mary to extend so they can get the ball inside of their big guys.
Let's jump right into our players to watch. They're brought to you by Lyft. We start with William and Mary. We talked about the big guys. Nathan Knight, Craig.
Probably the best big guy in the CAA this year. Certainly playing extremely well. One of the better rebounders in the country right now. He's inside out. He can knock down the three, but he's going to do his biggest damage inside close to the basket.
Our second player to watch for the Tribe, the other big, Andy Van Vliet.
Transfer from Wisconsin. Very good outside shooter, but he's also an excellent rebounder. He does a great job of feeding the post, and he'll post up too, Jeremy.
Players to watch for the Red Flash of St. Francis, Keith Braxton, our first.
Braxton is a wing player that's playing point guard. He's going to be a tough person for William and Mary to guard. He's 6'5", great passer, good ball handler, but he's very good inside, and you're going to see him in the post.
The other player to watch for the Red Flash, it's the other guard, Isaiah Blackman.
Blackman has come back from 2 ACL surgeries, and very effective guard, slasher, likes to get inside, pull up for those short jump shots, can get all the way to the basket, an athletic player, and a great compliment to Braxton.
Had a chance to catch up with both coaches before this contest. I had a chance to chat with the head coach of the Tribe, Dane Fisher. Coach, I think the first question has to be, you have Knight, you have Van Vliet, you got two guys over 6'10". You don't see that a lot in college basketball. How do you coach that right now?
Well, yeah, I guess, coming into the season, everybody talked about how you're going to play them together, are they going to play at the same time, and how you're going to do it. And, offensively, going into the season, it was never an issue because how well they spaced the floor. A lot of times when you have two guys 6'10", you're trying to figure out how do you space it. But these guys stretch it out to three, and it's what makes us hard to guard. The only issue we've had is on the defensive end when we have to play teams that play 4 out or 5 out. And, St. Francis will pose a little bit of a problem today with their 4-out lineup. So we'll have to be able to see if we can match up with that.
Yeah, you mentioned that. Coach Krimmel played a blistering pace in the past. They've slowed it down a bit. Is that maybe make it a better matchup than maybe if they were playing in that 80 points a game pace like they used to?
Potentially. I think that, when we want to be a team that can execute in the half court on both sides of the ball. And, the thing that I think St. Francis is doing really well this year is that. And sometimes when you slow down, you end up being a little bit better in the half court. So we're going to have our work cut out for us today without a doubt. They're a great offensive rebounding team. We're a really good defensive rebounding team, and I think that's probably going to be one of the biggest keys to the game today.
Thank you, Dane.
You're welcome.
Coach Fisher in his first year with the Tribe, Rob Krimmel in his 9th year with the Red Flash. I had a chance to catch up with him earlier today. Coach, I think for folks who haven't seen St. Francis this year, might be a bit surprised. You guys are playing a little bit differently this year. What's the difference between this year's edition and some of the past Red Flash teams?
I think the one thing is we have more depth, so we're playing more guys, significant minutes. And then the other thing is we're defending a little bit better. Our pace isn't as quick as it's been in the past, and we've been as efficient, I think, as we have the last couple of years offensively. But defensively, we started to establish an identity. And coming out of last year, that's something that we needed to get better at. We scored a lot of points, but at times, especially once we got to league play, we had a hard time keeping the other team off the scoreboard. So the depth, the ability to defend, and playing a bigger lineup, having Keith Braxton at the point, and playing some guys that have some experience, but also some new guys that have fit into some new roles for us.
You talk about a big lineup. They have a huge lineup today. How do you deal with it?
Say a few prayers before we come out here, but Dane's done a tremendous job with his group in his first year, and those two big kids inside are studs. And you can't play them any one particular way because if they can get into a rhythm, good luck. It'll be a long night for us. So we'll have to keep them off balance and run a couple of guys at them and make them work for everything that that they throw at us. But it'll be a good task for our 4s and our 5s. And we put some pressure on our guards to make sure that they do their part to make those 2 kids work for everything tonight.
Good luck tonight, Coach.
Thank you.
Rob Krimmel from St. Francis. Now time for our keys to the game. They're brought to you by RCN. Craig, we start with William & Mary. What do the Tribe have to do to be successful today?
Well, St. Francis is going to push the ball up the floor. They're a mobile team. They got to get back and match up. The other thing is they got to make their free throws. They're going to get to the free throw line. And the third thing is don't forget the big guys. Sometimes they do too much on the perimeter. Get the ball into the post, man.
Now over to St. Francis. What do they have to do to be successful?
Well, I think St. Francis, when you're playing against 2 good big guys, you got to try and beat them down the floor so you don't have to play against them inside. And so try and push the pace, get the ball up the floor. Their bench has been very good this year. Rob plays a lot of people, 10 guys most of the time, and they've been productive. They need them to be productive again. And then the third thing is just because there's a size disadvantage doesn't mean that St. Francis can't try and take advantage of post mismatches too.
Now time for our starting lineups. They're brought to you by Mountain Dew. We start with William & Mary. Of course, told you about the 2 bigs. Another guy look out for, Luke Lowy, a top 20 shooter in the NCAA from 3-point range. On the other side of things for St. Francis, their starting lineup you see there, Miles Thompson, big day for him, 23 points against Florida State. Obviously can fill it up against good opponents. Craig, your thoughts before we tip this one off?
Well, I think it's curious to see what William & Mary is going to do with Braxton. Braxton's 6'5" point guard. Are they going to start their point guard on him, or they try and put a bigger guy, maybe Tyler Hamilton, on him? And if I'm St. Francis, who am I going to put on Nathan Knight? Nathan Knight is going to be a handful for St. Francis all 40 minutes.
And Knight wins the opening tap. William & Mary in the gold today. St. Francis in the black. We are underway. So glad to have you along for what we expect to be a good matchup. CAA versus the NEC. Here's Lowy, top of the key, and what a start for the Tribe.
Yeah, and that's one of the problems. You're playing against a really good team with good big men, and you're talking to them about closing up the middle, and then you leave a 3-point shooter open. Lowy's too good of a shooter to give him that much space.
Zavis, they call him DK. He's the starting center. You'll see a lot of Mark Flagg, though. Down the lane, that shot blocked, ends up off of off of William & Mary, stays with St. Francis.
And Blackman is active player, athletic, despite the fact he's had 2 ACL surgeries. He's somebody that's going to be able to get to the rim. William & Mary's going to have to close up that middle and keep him away from the basket.
I had 1. That was enough for me. I can't imagine going through 2.
A little water on the floor. William & Mary basketball managers stepping out there to help the referees.
This is Blackman. Offensive foul drawn by Hamilton.
And Hamilton, probably their best on-ball defender, did a really good job of anticipating going left, and that was more a scouting report. That was a scouting report charge as much as anything.
Hamilton transfer from the University of Pennsylvania. Different myriad of issues why he did maybe get more output there, but they're glad to have him here at William & Mary.
No question about it. Good wing player and a very good defender.
Down low, Knight at the bucket. That's too easy, and a foul as he'll go to the line for a 3-point play.
And Knight did a great job of flashing in front of his defender right in the post. You can't give him that much space. And again, left-handed going to his strong hand. And he's got Blackman on him, and that's a huge mismatch for St. Francis.
So Knight misses the free throw, kept alive, and Kuzavas able to grab the board. Shot from the corner, and that will fall. So that's the answer for St. Francis. Blackman knocks it down.
And St. Francis not afraid to put the ball up quickly. And again, Blackman too good of a shooter. You can't give him that much space. For the starters, the 2 3-point threats in the lineup right now are Braxton and Blackman. The other 3 guys are really not 3-point threats. The 3-point threats are the guys coming off the bench.
Here's Van Vliet down the lane. The 7-footer has it stripped on the way, but a foul will be called on Randall Gaskins.
You know, we talked to Coach Dane Fisher yesterday, and he talked about the fact that he wants both big guys to be comfortable popping out, shooting threes, but also driving to the basket. That's an example right there of Van Vliet putting the ball on the floor at 7 feet tall.
And tonight, checks his feet, now down low to his other big Van Vliet, and a baby hook for the score.
You know, I think they caught Zavis a little bit napping on that play right there, and he just cut right to the basket. That was a little bit too easy.
7-3 William & Mary advantage. Here's Braxton, really playing the point this year. And that shot is up and rattles home for Thompson.
And we talked about their guards, but you got to watch out for Thompson. Again, you talked about the game he had the other night, and he's somebody you got to put a hand up. And Van Vliet had a hand up. He just knocked the shot down. Good offense by St. Francis.
Lowy, head up on the dribble. Hamilton guarded closely by Braxton. Takes him to the hole, kicks it. Here's Barnes for three, good.
And Barnes did a great job of sliding down to the corner to give Hamilton a better passing right there. And I think some guys on the bench said something to him, so he said something right back to him when he knocked down that three-point shot.
Both teams 2 for 2 from long distance. That didn't catch anything. Knight thought about the long outlet pass, thinks better of it.
And, you know, I think Van Vliet got a fingertip on that ball. That's why it was short.
Knight will take the three. He can't connect, batted out, ends up off the red flash and stays with the Tribe.
Great hustle by Hamilton. Hamilton hit the boards that time and wasn't able to come down with the rebound, but knocked the ball off the hands of St. Francis player. William & Mary's ball with 20 seconds on the shot clock.
This is Barnes, graduate transfer out of the University of Milwaukee. Really has helped them out, especially with Thornton Scott being out.
St. Francis in that zone, and I'd play a lot of zone against this team too, particularly with those two big guys.
There's the kick. Down the lane goes Barnes, and what a layup.
And Barnes had two decisions there. Lowy was wide open in the corner, but he had a chance with that left hand to put the ball right on the backboard. Smart play and a great drive by Barnes to the basket.
You mentioned zone for St. Francis, the foul's called out front. And, you know, a lot of teams have trouble rebounding out of a zone, but the other issue is we see the replay here that William & Mary admits we don't offensive rebound as well as we should, considering the fact we have two guys over 6'10" that play.
Yeah, no, and that's one thing that I'm sure they're going to talk about and try and clean up a little bit before the CAA conference starts, because they got those big guys. Why not take advantage of them at the offensive end, too?
Here's your point forward, extra size, could even call him a point center for most teams, and Knight bringing it up. Lowy spins in the lane off to Van Vliet. That does not fall. Batted around. Thornton keeps it alive. Barnes almost ended up in our laps.
No, he's done a great job. That's 3 times he's gone to the offensive boards and got a fingertip on the ball.
Van Vliet with a hook, well off.
Yeah, that's probably one of those plays you should have passed the ball.
Van Vliet almost gets a steal at the other end. Now here comes Braxton. He'll kick. And stepping on the sideline. That'll take us to a break. St. Francis trailing William & Mary, but some outside shooting for both teams early on here in D.C.
With Mountain Dew Kickstart, the game is always on.
When a student comes to St. Francis University, they come with gifts and talents that are unique to them. It's our role to help those students become the person that they are meant to be.
gonna do this or what? You gotta do it. And keep doing it. Do it big. Hit it. Step it up. Always take the risk. Don't just watch it. Put your phone down and do it. Drip splash like the ice on the wrist. That's a call I can't miss. Do what they say you can. Because there are those who don't and those who do. Let's do.
Here you see Van Vliet, the bigger of the Twin Towers for William & Mary, as he checks in at 7 feet tall. Again, not a lot of guys that Nathan Knight has to look up to. He's one of them.
Yeah, native of Antwerp, Belgium, played at Wisconsin, then transferred, sat out last year for William & Mary, and he's a great complement to Nathan Knight. He's a handful. Both these kids, you got two big kids that you got to worry about. Both can shoot, both can drive, both can rebound. It's a big problem for the other team. And here, St. Francis again back in that zone. They made a couple of substitutions. St. Francis plays a lot of people. You'll see 10 different people on the floor today for them.
Hamilton at the top, kicks it down low. Blair just into the game, and that one altered. Here comes Braxton. Braxton floater in the lane, no good, knocked around. Flag got a piece of it, but goes to William & Mary. Here comes Lowy down the lane, puts it off the glass and good.
Yeah, I thought he was going to bring the ball back out and did a great job. The defense thought he was going to bring the ball back out too, created a driving lane to the basket. Nice play by Lowy.
Iessa also into the game for William & Mary, wearing 15. St. Francis couple subs in, including Scott Meredith, number 2, big outside shooter for them. This is Flag and has the touch.
And Flag is like having a sixth starter, really, and you could alternate between he and Kuzavas because Flag has played extremely well off the bench, and he can score, he can run. I like his mobility in the post.
Yeah, Rob Krimmel telling us kind of it's 1A, 1B with those two. Blair with the shot around and out, no good.
Blair's found that opening 2 different times, hadn't been able to get the ball to drop.
Now Braxton takes the 3. That's off the mark. Van Vliet there for the board.
Yeah, good box out by Van Vliet on the boards that possession.
Knight getting ready to check back in. Van Vliet takes the 3 and knocks it down.
And Van Vliet figured, I got a really tough rebound. It's my turn to take a 3 and knock down a 3-point shot. You got to get out and guard both those big guys. They can shoot.
Came into the day shooting 38% from three-point land. That's something that's got to make the pros think twice, and that'll go down for Meredith for 3.
I was watching Meredith shoot pre-game, and he can knock the cover off the ball. They gave him too much space. They penetrated. Weak side came to help. You can't help off him when he's behind the three-point line.
That close loss to Richmond. He had 6 3-pointers in that contest against a quality Spiders team. Nice interior passing. That goes down for Van Vliet.
And that's the 3rd time they've found Blair on the interior of that defense, and that's not an accident. Blair's done a great job of finding openings against that zone.
Van Vliet has 7. Now Braxton answers with a 3.
Nobody helped that on the screen. Lowy was stuck on the screen, and the big guy didn't step up. You can't give their best player that much space behind the three-point line.
Now Braxton, the guy whose role has changed, really running the point now, has played all over the court for St. Francis. Lowy misses on the shot, and Red Flash can make this a 1-possession game here. Flag down the lane. He'll be fouled on the floor.
It's funny, that possession, I thought Gaskins could have got a layup. He ran straight to the corner, and Braxton was looking at him, cutting to the basket. There was a space on that baseline, and he just stayed in the deep corner.
So Van Vliet will check out. Knight back in.
I like this kid that St. Francis brings off the bench. Tyler Stewart is a transfer for Binghamton, about 6'8", great size for a forward. I think he's going to be a great player for Rob Krimmel.
There goes Stewart, and Knight with the block, but a foul will be called. And Knight, big smile on his face, can't believe it.
I'd like to see that play again because they changed the rule. 20 years ago, you couldn't interrupt a defender when he was driving, but Knight went straight up. And, Stewart did fall down, but he's the one that really jumped in tonight, and I'd probably have a little bit of an argument with the official on that play.
Stewart misses the foul
But I'd
shot.
keep it to myself if I was on the sideline.
Stewart, a guy who, in his time at Binghamton, won Rookie of the Week honor. So, again, he's wasn't ineffective at Binghamton, was pretty good there, just finding a better situation at St. Francis, and he knocks down that free throw.
Well, he can post up at 6'8". He can run the floor. He's mobile. He can move his feet on the perimeter, and he's got three-point range. So what's not to like about a kid like that?
Rob Krimmel really liking the depth he's built in his 9 years at St. Francis. It is a different program. I called some of their games early in his tenure, and it is a different looking program right now for the Red Flash.
They changed back to a man-to-man. The zone was hurting them, and they went back to a man-to-man against this William & Mary team.
Armanovskis dribbles it off his leg, and the Red Flash get a stop.
Much better defensive possession that time for St. Francis.
Amir Dixon Conover at the point. As Braxton playing off the ball right now. Braxton back for three.